Taiwan and around the world. More labor abuses have come to light in a new Greenpeace report on the exploitation of migrant fishers in Taiwan. Advocates are now calling for major reforms to help fishers work in safe environments. Tiffany Wong reports.
Greenpeace Southeast Asia has released a new report on the exploitation that migrant fishers face, detailing 10 incidents of forced labor on 12 Taiwanese fishing vessels since 2019. Taiwan is home to the second largest global fleet of distant water fishing vessels and over 20,000 migrant fishers. The NGOs detailing abuses Indonesian workers have experienced here. They said they found that 92% of the fishers they interviewed felt that they were taken advantage of, and many of them were trapped into staying in exploitative work environments due to debt. 2/3 also reported having their wages withheld, and cases of physical violence and threats in the workplace were also reported. Greenpeace says exploitative Indonesian recruitment agencies and lack of oversight on the Taiwanese fishing companies means fishers easily fall into forced labor.
那用弱势处境的话，其实就是非常多的渔工，其实只有非常短的时间可以看他的合约，或者是签署一些他看不懂的中文文书，或者是甚至还有发生伪造证件跟训练文书的这个情况发生，就代表这些渔工呢可能陷入一个非法工作，或者是他不知道自己到底要去哪里的这个情况。
Migrant fishers in Taiwan are mostly from Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. And this NGO hopes that with more regulations on these recruitment companies and more oversight on Taiwanese fishing vessels, they can work in a safe and humane environment. John Su and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
For more on the movement to improve migrant fishers' working conditions and livelihoods in Taiwan, Tiffany Wong spoke to Lin and Ingda Wang, director at the Serve the People Association.
Now, this has been an ongoing problem that's been reported to the government. Have you seen any improvements in the past few years?
Honestly, there are some slight changes. For example, the hostility from the business, from the industries against the NGOs like us has been lessened. It's not that much as before, but the structural or the fundamental structure is still the same. So the similar things repeat themselves. There are a lot of root cause. The business actually, they abused the agencies, and the agencies in turn abused the workers, the fishermen. So the fishermen are the most vulnerable. Take one thing, for example, the salaries. Most of the salaries of the distant water fishermen are actually paid by the brokers. But some extreme violence is lessened, like the physical violence. We didn't hear so much physical violence cases like before, but there's still some, but not as rampant as before. So there are some slight changes, while the whole structure is still the same.
Do we expect to see any change spurred by this report, or what do you think is the best way to affect change?
Well, the reports themselves seldom really make the changes, I would say, to be honest, because there are too many from Greenpeace, from EJF, from other agencies. Well, the government, they seldom really do some changes because of the reports, but they will do some changes because of the yellow card, because of the sanctions, because of the WRO from the CBP in the US government. So these real warnings or real threats which will endanger the business for the industry, this will make the government and the industry change. So to be honest, I don't really think the government will really do some real changes because of this or that report. But if there are more sanctions, they might do. So I will still encourage the relevant foreign governments to monitor the human rights issues on the fishing fleets in Taiwan and do some things they should to really push Taiwan to do some real changes.
That was Lin and Ingda Wang from Serve the People Association. Taiwan's Defense Ministry has spotted 34 Chinese military aircraft and 16 naval vessels operating around the country in the 24 hours up to Thursday morning. 22 of those aircraft crossed the median line of the Taiwan Straits. Other aircraft flew into southwestern parts of Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This area is not Taiwan's airspace, but a buffer zone used for defensive purposes. The U.S. State Department has told TaiwanPlus that they do not believe China's increased military activity is a response to Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's recent transit through U.S. territories. South Korean President Yoon has appeared in public for the first time since Saturday to make a televised speech. While Yoon defended his decision to declare a short-lived period of martial law, even his own party is now calling for his immediate suspension. Chris Gorin reports.
South Korean President Yoon, not seen in public for 5 days, emerges to address the nation from the presidential office. He defended his decision to declare and revoke martial law, which has plunged the country into political crisis.
지금껏 국정 마비와 국헌 문란을 주도한 세력과 범죄자 집단이 국정을 장악하고 대한민국의 미래를 위협하는 일만큼은 어떤 일이 있어도 막아야 합니다. 저는 끝까지 싸울 것입니다.
The defiant speech comes as Yoon faces criminal investigations and calls for his resignation and impeachment. Following Yoon's address, the leader of his own ruling party encouraged his members to participate in an impeachment vote scheduled for Saturday, after many boycotted last week's vote.
대통령이 조기 퇴진 의사가 없음이 확인된 이상 즉각적인 직무 정지가 필요합니다.
Yoon declared martial law on December 3rd to defend against what he called anti-state forces working with North Korea. Although he rescinded it 6 hours later, the crisis has engulfed the country. With treason and insurrection investigations ongoing, prosecutors have raided the presidential office. Yoon's national police chief and his former defense minister are among officials arrested for potential crimes related to the martial law declaration. Overnight, protests continued, with many saying they won't leave until Yoon does.
민주당에서 얘기한 것처럼 이번 주에 안 되면 다음 주에, 다음 주에 안 되면 다다음 주에. 그렇다면 저희 국민들도 이번 주에 안 되면 다음 주에, 다음 주에 안 되면 다다음 주에도 계속 목소리를 내서 현장에 나올 것입니다.
With an impending impeachment vote and lacking support from his party, President Yoon, the country, and the world await the results on Saturday. Fu Hua-hong and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has been invited to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration, according to CBS News. Trump has previously said he gets along very well with Xi and extended the invite shortly after the U.S. election in November. It's not clear if Xi will attend. The invite comes amid predictions U.S.-China relations are about to worsen. Trump has named several China hawks to his cabinet, imposed a deadline to ban TikTok, and is vowing to impose tariffs on Chinese goods. He will be inaugurated on January 20 in Washington, D.C. Several waves of immigrants from China have settled in Peru over the centuries, giving rise to a unique blend of cultures and one of South America's largest Asian communities. Resign went to Peru to meet the Tusán and discover how recent economic developments are impacting their community.
Design professor Eduardo Tung has long reflected on his identity. He's part of what's known here as the Tusán community, native-born Peruvians descended from Chinese immigrants. Like many Tusán, Tung has faced discrimination and struggles to fit in at home and abroad.
Entonces siempre he tenido esos cuestionamientos, ¿no? De quién soy yo, ¿no? Porque cuando la gente me ve me dice chino, pero cuando yo estoy fuera del Perú, la gente me dice que yo soy peruano, me dice no, tú no eres peruano, tú eres chino, ¿no?
But Tung learned to embrace his duality and now sits as a director of the Chinese Peruvian Association, Peru's largest association uniting Tusán businesses and people. The Tusán, who get their name from a Chinese word meaning local born, are one of the largest Asian communities in South America, and over generations have left a distinct mark on Peruvian society.
This is Barrio Chino, the heart of Lima's Tusán community. With almost 2 centuries of history, it's long been a hub for Chinese Peruvian culture.
It's a community that continues to evolve as a new wave of Chinese immigrants enters Peru, along with the massive investment that China is pouring into the country, with projects like this megaport just north of Lima, which can handle some of the largest containers and cuts shipping times between Latin America and Asia. It's all part of China's so-called Belt and Road project to facilitate trade between China and the rest of the world.
对，有感觉。
For traditional Chinese medicine doctor Chan Tak Luen, who moved here in the 1980s seeking economic opportunities, hopes are high that the deepening relationship between his birth country and his adopted one will be beneficial.
我相信都会带来好的，因为我们的中国的东西在秘鲁都有100多年的历史，很多秘鲁人都认识中国的东西。
And there's also an audible sign here of the evolving relationship between the Tusán and the new wave of Chinese immigrants. John Choi, who works as a spiritual healer in Lima's Chinatown, says he's noticed a recent shift within the community.
Antes no era muy comercial el chino mandarín, porque aquí la comunidad en el Perú, la gran mayoría, son de lengua cantonesa. Y con el tiempo ya se ha ido expandiendo el dialecto mandarín, el básico, el oficial, el más diplomático.
And it makes it red because, you know, red is good luck.
Community leaders like Tang say it's important to embrace change while maintaining the values of their complex heritage, encouraging Peru's Tusán population to grow and adapt and roll with the ever-changing geopolitical and domestic landscapes. Scott Huang, Harel Hughes and Reese Ayres in Peru for TaiwanPlus.
A heritage building in the historic town of Lukang has partially collapsed after years of alleged neglect. Local officials are denying they failed to look after the building and are pushing the blame onto the central government. John Van Trieste reports.
Xu Juyao's proud family legacy is in ruins. Heavy rains and a powerful earthquake in April have proven too much for the ancestral home in the historic port town of Lukang, a home built somewhere between 1796 and 1820. Though the structure isn't totally flattened, beams have recently given way, leaving the ground covered in rubble. It's a low point for a family that can trace its lineage back to wealthy traders from the 18th and 19th centuries, when this was one of Taiwan's biggest commercial hubs. Shi is resigned to the destruction.
可惜是可惜啊，反正东西就是会坏呀，尽量保持它的原状啊，就是尽人事啊。
But not everyone feels enough was done, especially by the local culture bureau. The building was on the local heritage list since 2009, noted for its architecture. Some preservationists say that during this time, the building was neglected.
15年都没有动，没有动。你看，以前都很完整的这些雕花，到现在都掉了，屋顶也垮了，梁柱也断了啊。所以说，再不整修的话，哪有一天可能就是像这一堆土一样，整个都变成一个灰灰。
Local officials reject this claim that they let the building fall apart. The county's Cultural Affairs Bureau says it started planning to fix it up in 2019, and that as recently as April, it applied for funding from the central government. But that funding never came through. Now the Bureau says it's assessing whether the building needs emergency stabilization and repairs, and it will try to get funding from the central government to restore the building fully.
损害状况是不是有更加严重的一个状况哈？我们在请专家学者去判断哈。那如果说有需要做紧急必要的一个加固修缮的话哈，那我们会紧速来处理这样子。
In a town known for pride in its past, the heavy damage to the old Shi family home slipped through the cracks. Now it's a matter of seeing how much of this 200-year-old heritage building can be salvaged. Klein Wong and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we take you to a new exhibition in New York highlighting the legacy of dancer Alvin Ailey. I'm Sandy Chi. Take care and see you next time.